Welcome back to Got a Form for that. We are kind of making our way through the year, and because of that, now we are going to do a form that is associated with this period that is called Lent. It happens before Easter. I also gave you the forms for the Eightfold Path of the Buddha for this time. And here is a form I'm going to give you today that you could add to your practice during this time before Easter happens. Since if you are doing the Eightfold Path, you would only be tracing one form each day anyway. This would just add one more form for you to do. So I just want to talk a little bit about this form and where it came from. I was, the first time that I worked with it, I was getting ready to do this book, which is my volume 4, and it's called Protecting Forms. And this, the form that's on the front, you can also find by going to my website and just, looking for volume 4, and it's right there. You can see it. This was given to me to put on the front. This was the form that the spiritual world said should go here. This form is a protection for the thymus gland. It is also a form that helps us to cultivate the quality of gratitude, which is actually sort of hard to do during this period of the year. Usually Lent, or this period before Easter, comes with some challenges, and you'll just find that things sometimes don't mesh or gel the way that you would like them to. And so we need a little extra help. And this form that I will give you is protective to your whole being, and especially to the thymus gland, that center of the immune system. So, yeah, the purpose of the forms is manifold. The forms themselves, as I've said before, are a language. They are an occult script or a hidden script, but the spiritual world does not want that to be so hidden now. And in Waldorf schools, the forms have been given, but not as script. That's just the forms are given to the children for fun, and the children, take them up in that way, which is correct for children. They also, the forms, when we're working with children, are helping them to achieve balance and harmony of movement, spatial orientation, eye-hand coordination, and all those things that we develop as children. The forms I'm bringing, and the way I bring them especially, are really for adults. Adults need to learn the forms in a somewhat different way than children do. And whereas with children, I wouldn't teach the forms in the same way. I wouldn't, give them this whole map of like dots and so forth to follow. But I do that with adults because the purpose is very different. For an adult to work with this form, the purpose is for us to be able, we adults, to be able to trace the form and work with it in that way, not to develop eye-hand coordination. Hopefully we did some of that when we were in school. And, when we're 45, that's really not appropriate to be focusing in that way of, development. We are working with the forms therapeutically rather than developmentally when we're adults. And when we're children, we're working with them developmentally. We aren't aware of that. We're just having fun when we're 9 and 10 and we're working with the forms. So it's a different perspective and a different purpose. So for those of you who don't know, the forms are a language of the spiritual world. And I receive these forms in various ways. Much of it comes clairvoyantly and in meditation. So I see the forms and I am shown how the lines should move because I see them moving. So if it goes from left to right, I see the line moving that way. If it's going from top to bottom, I see that. If it's going clockwise, I can see that, or counterclockwise, I see that. And I also can see the order of the lines if there is a given order. Sometimes there is not. And sometimes it's okay to trace the forms, to trace the lines in either direction. Sometimes there's not an indication of that, in which case the form will appear fully developed, just as a picture, and there won't be any movement there. Now, if I don't see the form like that, I will be given directions about how the form should be drawn. And that can be in terms of language, or it can be just a knowing that I have. So that's how I receive the forms, and it can take quite a while to get them just right and just so, and so that so that the spiritual world sort of signs off on them and they say, yes, Laura, you've got it right. And you may take that out into the world. So that's that. And now I would like to begin presenting this wonderful form for the thymus gland. So let's take out a piece of paper. You'll want a piece of graphite, a pencil, and a piece of paper, just a piece of printer paper is good, and a graphite pencil. And then later we'll put color on it. I'm going to do this in just a light color. Okay, so here we go. We're going to begin with the seal for this form. You will find this form in volume 8, given on page 22. And we're going to create a rectangle. And for your rectangle, you could just take your printer paper and have it landscape oriented so that you can draw your rectangle just a little ways from the edge of the paper, and then you'll have your golden rectangle. Now, I realize I just told you that I'm giving you the form that's on the front of volume 4, and I am. It's the same form that you'll see in volume 8. It is the indications for the drawing of the lines, the direction and the order to draw the lines in is a little different in both places because the emphasis and meaning is slightly different. For the one we're doing today, the emphasis is on this cultivation of the sense of gratitude, which is carried by the thymus gland, or it's associated with it. So we have our rectangle, and then we're going to need to find the center of this. So you might take a ruler maybe and draw a line from this corner to that corner, and another one from this corner to this corner. Find the place where those two cross, and that should be the center of your rectangle. Okay. And now for drawing the form, I am going to give this form to you in the order that it is given in volume 8. So we're going to start with this figure 8 sort of form that is truncated at the ends. So here's a normal figure 8 form, well, a lemniscate on its side, right? But the form we're going to be drawing, while it's lying down, will have the ends kind of cut off like that. So the form itself will look like that. So that's what we're beginning with. We're going to bring those lines down. Actually, not quite that far out, because we have something else that comes out here. So we'll write these or draw these vertical lines equidistant from that center point, and then create a figure 8 by making this very shallow S sort of curve in both directions. And now we have our figure 8. That look more even? Yes, a bit. Okay. Now our next form is a shape that is a 3-part shape, and it also goes across horizontally, and it looks a little bit like a wrapped piece of hard candy. So let's make a dot here and a dot here, and then we can create that movement, and then we will bring this out here. And we're creating these lines to be parallel with the ones that we drew at the ends of the figure 8. So when we come out on this side, we need to be about this distance. It needs to be about the same. And then this length also should be about the same. So let's see how I did. Well, pretty well. And if you want to, work with that and make it, make yours just right and just so, then you are welcome to do that. Okay. Now we have a third line to do, and it's, well, a fourth actually. We have the rectangle, the figure 8, the 3-part form here. And now we're going to draw a circle that will kind of encompass this whole section here. Okay. And when I say encompass, notice that the circle is outside of this intersection and outside of this intersection. So it encompasses all of this activity in the center. All right, now we can put our blue color on it. And you probably noticed that this is not blue. It is a red violet, and that can come later. It's always good to start with the blue, because the blue is so healing to that inmost being. You don't have to start with that. It's just a recommendation, a friendly recommendation from me. And that's why I'm putting it up here in this way. All right, so we'll do the lines in the order that, or we'll draw the lines or trace them in the order that I showed you to draw them. So 1, 2, and then the third one starts to the left also, doesn't it? Yes, okay. Yeah, over here, and then this one starts at the top. All right, and then you may have seen that, you may have noticed that the form has lines that look broken, and they're what I would call this is weaving. This is a type of form that we teach in the type of a method of drawing the form that we teach in the 4th grade in Waldorf schools. Please don't do it earlier than that, because it's very awakening. And for a 4th grader, that's appropriate, but not for a third grader. Now, if you are an adult who is over the age of, say, 40, or even over the age of 35, you may not want to weave the line. It is a very incarnating gesture, a very incarnating way to work with form drawing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are, moving into the second part of your life, you're not really trying to still take hold of the body. You've done that work, and now you're gradually coming back out. So you may not wish to weave it. I don't believe that it will harm you, but that's up to you. And I just wanted to let you know that is the purpose of the woven form, or one of the purposes, is to help the spirit and soul incarnate into the body, which is appropriate if we're in fourth grade and fifth grade and sixth grade and so forth. That's the process that we're going through. But as adults, we have a different process that we're going through. However, this form was presented to me as woven, so I'm going to give it to you in that way. I'm going to start here and this. Okay, so now we come to an intersection, and I've decided to begin by making it appear that this line here is going under this line. Yeah, you can see. Okay. Now I come to this next intersection, and because I went under here, I have to go over here. So whatever you decide to do at that first intersection will determine how the rest of the form is drawn, because you have to follow that pattern of under and over and under and over, just like a woven mat would look. So here we go, under, and we go over here, and now here we go under, and here we go over, under, over, under, over, right there. And then here we go under, and there we go over. And because we are following this pattern correctly, we went under here, and by the time we come back to that line, this space is there for us to just go right over. Okay, now we come to this line, and we have to go under, and then we go over the next intersection and under the following one. Then we go over, and we come back to where we started. To emphasize the weaving, you can erase the little marks that are right next to those lines. Yeah, okay. All right, and now we will do this line here. We'll start, and now we don't have a choice here. We have to go under because this line is blocking the way. So here we go, and then we come to this, we'll come to this intersection, we have to go over. Here we go under, here we go over, like that. Here we are under. There we go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, right here, and then under, right here, over here, where we have that space already left. Then we have to go, over that, and then we go under here and over this one. So we've got two really close to each other there, two intersections. And now we've got that line done, and all we have left to do is the circle. So we'll start here. And we go over that, under here, under, and over here, under here, over, under, over, and we're done. So to trace the form, if you have woven it, is it's a matter of following what you have already done, but you're going to have to be kind of awake in order to do that. You can't really sleep into a woven form. So we just, trace that line, and here we do this next, and we're lifting our pencil constantly, aren't we? That, and we come over here. And finally, the circle. Okay, now it would be one tracing. And then to work with the form, we would trace it 2 or 3 times, just like that. Now, as I said, it's up to you if you want to trace the form or wave the form or not. Not weaving it is perfectly acceptable, and it will accomplish the same purposes. It just won't be as incarnating, it won't be as intense. So if you really want to affect the physical body and that thymus gland, it actually is advisable to weave it, but it will still support your immune system even if you don't. So that's quite all right. All right, and now I would love to share with you a verse that was given to me for to use with this form, or to help work with this form. You would trace the form, and then you might sit quietly and think through these words. The verse is not new; it's a very old verse, and it is attributed to Saint Patrick. There are many different versions of these. If you look online and you look up Saint Patrick's breastplate, you will find different versions, and some of them are extremely long. I'm only going to give you just a short version of this. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ within me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ at my right, Christ at my left, Christ in the fort, Christ in the chariot seat, Christ in the ship, Christ in the heart of everyone who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks to me, Christ in every eye that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me. This is a very protective verse, just like this is a very protective form. And I also wanted to say that after you work with this in blue for a little while, a few days, a week, you may put the color on it that is given on the front of volume 4, which is a kind of a fuchsia color, a red violet, and work with that color. So thank you very much for being with me and working with this form. And I look forward to bringing more forms for you. And I wish you a peaceful Lent period, and hope that everything goes smoothly for you.